There's something deeply powerful about making the quiet decision to choose yourself, day after day, moment after moment. Not loudly, not to prove anything, but simply because you've realized that your life is too sacred to live for anyone else's narrative. And when you start doing this consistently, you begin to reclaim your time, your energy, your direction. You stop living on autopilot. You stop chasing everyone else's approval, and instead you begin to ask, what actually matters to me? Because the truth is, when your attention is constantly on others, what they're doing, thinking, achieving, you lose yourself. You dilute your purpose. You drift from your core. And drifting may feel subtle at first. It might look like little compromises, saying yes when you meant no, smiling when something doesn't feel right, staying where you feel unseen, because leaving feels uncomfortable. But over time, these small betrayals build a quiet bitterness, a fatigue that no amount of sleep can fix, a restlessness that whispers, there has to be more. And there is more. But you won't find it by looking outward. You'll find it by coming back home to yourself. So how do you do that? You begin by asking honest questions. What parts of my life feel aligned? What parts feel heavy? What choices am I making out of fear? What desires am I suppressing to avoid judgment? These questions require courage, because sometimes the answers will challenge everything you've been taught to prioritize. But clarity is born from truth, and truth is what frees you. Next, start practicing radical presence. When you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. When you speak, really mean it. Most people aren't living, they're escaping. Constant scrolling, constant comparing, constant numbing. Presence is your rebellion. When you're present, you start to hear yourself again. You notice what your body is asking for. You notice the subtle shifts in your mood. You notice how environments either drain you or nourish you. You stop moving through life half awake and start participating fully. And when presence becomes your practice, you naturally begin to set boundaries, not to control others, but to protect your energy. You realize not everyone deserves access to your mind. Not every conversation deserves your input. Not every demand requires your immediate response. You become discerning, not distant, clear, not cold, available but not at the cost of yourself. This is how you take your power back. And when you do, you also start to redefine success, not by comparison, not by competition, but by alignment. You stop measuring your life in likes, followers, or approval. You start measuring it by how honest you feel, how grounded, how at peace. You stop asking, what will they think? And start asking, what do I want to remember when I'm 80? This is how you build a meaningful life, not a perfect one, not one that pleases everyone, but one that feels like truth in your bones. And when you begin to embody this way of being, something extraordinary happens. You become magnetic. Not because you're trying to be, but because authenticity radiates. People feel it. They trust it. They are drawn to it. Because in a world full of noise and performance, someone who is rooted in themselves stands out like a lighthouse in a storm. You stop chasing energy, and energy starts coming to you. But more importantly, you start to feel proud of who you are, even when no one's watching. That's real power. Now, let's not pretend this journey is always easy. There will be moments when you doubt yourself. Moments when you slip back into old patterns. Moments when you feel alone in your growth. That's okay. You're not failing. You're human. This work isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. It's about showing up for yourself with grace, especially on the days when it's hard, especially when no one's clapping. Especially when the old voices come back whispering, you're too much, you're not enough, you should be more like them. And you gently say, no, I'm exactly who I need to be today, and I'm still becoming. That's the voice of someone who's healed. Not someone who's never been hurt, but someone who decided they were worth the effort. Because self-focus is not selfish. It's how you build the emotional stability to be truly present for others. It's how you break generational patterns instead of repeating them. It's how you make choices that future you will thank you for. And one of the most beautiful side effects of focusing on yourself, you become a mirror that reflects back to others the possibility of healing. You stop needing to change people. You start inspiring them by simply being real. That's leadership. Not control, not domination, but presence, integrity, clarity. You stop reacting to the world and start shaping your world. You stop being a product of your environment and start becoming the creator of your life. This is the power of inner work, and it all begins with one small, brave decision: to come home to yourself, to stop watching what everyone else is doing and start creating something real inside of you. It won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. And you're not doing it alone. Every time you choose to grow, to heal, to rise, you give others permission to do the same. So keep choosing yourself, again and again and again, because you are the foundation. And the stronger your foundation becomes, the more beautifully everything else can rise. So now, you've started turning inward, you've begun listening to your needs, you've pulled back from the noise, and you might be asking, what's next? Where does this road lead when you truly start focusing on yourself? Here's the beautiful truth. It leads to transformation. Not surface change, not temporary fixes, but deep, soul-level transformation that begins to shape every area of your life. When you stop looking outward for validation, your inner voice becomes louder and more honest. That voice is not always easy to hear. It may tell you that you've been hiding, that you've outgrown old roles, old dreams, even old relationships. But it also tells you that you're ready for something more, something real, something free. That's the cost of self-focus, freedom. Because you're no longer living to impress, you're living to express, to create, to grow, to evolve into who you were always meant to become. And here's something no one tells you. When you begin this path, you may lose people. Some friends won't understand, some family members may question your choices, some will call it selfish, but let them. Because the more you focus on yourself, the more you'll attract people who meet you at your frequency, not your wounds. You'll start noticing the difference between connections that drain you and ones that elevate you. You'll stop trying to fix people and start holding space for those who are ready to grow. You'll stop chasing love and start radiating it from within. And when that shift happens, life becomes simpler, but not easier. Because now you're awake, you feel more, you see more. You can't go back to sleepwalking. You start confronting the places you've abandoned yourself, the dreams you postponed, the habits you used to numb your truth, the roles you played just to be accepted. This is shadow work, not as a buzzword, but as a practice. You face the parts of you once buried, the angry one, the jealous one, the insecure one, the wounded child. But you don't shame them, you listen, you hold them. You understand that they were survival strategies, adaptations to a world that didn't know how to hold your sensitivity, your power, your light. And slowly, layer by layer, you begin integrating. Not fixing, not changing, integrating. Because wholeness isn't about perfection, it's about inclusion. It's about allowing all parts of yourself to belong, even the messy ones, even the ones that hurt. This is how true self-love is born, not in the mirror, but in the mirror of your shadows. And once you taste that kind of love, the world outside can't control you anymore. You stop needing applause. You stop begging for breadcrumbs. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that were never made for you. Instead, you build new spaces, new dreams, new timelines. This is the rebirth. The moment you realize you don't have to live by old scripts, you get to write your own. So what does that look like in practice? Maybe it means waking up earlier to connect with yourself before the world demands your energy. Maybe it means walking away from people who constantly trigger your wounds. Maybe it means choosing a new career, a new city, or even a new identity. Or maybe it means doing less, slowing down, creating space not to achieve more, but to feel more, to be more. Focusing on yourself also means embracing your limits. You are not a machine. You are not here to be productive all the time. You are not meant to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pause. Take a breath. Feel the ground beneath you. And remember, this moment is enough. Because healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel powerful. Other days you'll feel lost. Some days you'll want to share your light. Other days you'll want to hide. That's okay. The goal is not constant progress, it's consistent presence. It's the ability to return to yourself again and again without judgment. This is the discipline of self-focus. It's not just about growth, it's about devotion. Devotion to your peace, to your truth, to your path. And along that path you'll find something extraordinary, gratitude. Not just for the highs, but for the lows. Not just for the people who stayed, but for the ones who left. Not just for the clarity, but for the confusion that led you to it. Because everything, every trigger, every loss, every challenge became a mirror. It showed you what still needed your attention, your love, your light. So the next time you find yourself slipping into comparison, the next time you feel the pull to fix someone else's life before your own, the next time you're tempted to abandon yourself to belong, pause, breathe, return. You are your own home. You are your own medicine. You are your own guide. And focusing on yourself isn't selfish, it's sacred. It's the foundation of a life well lived. Because when you heal, you don't just change your world, you change the energy you bring to the world. You become the calm in the chaos, the depth in the shallow, the light in the noise. And that ripple, your ripple, matters more than you know. When you commit to focusing on yourself, you begin a relationship that will last a lifetime, the one with your own soul. This isn't about self-obsession, it's about self-connection. It's about learning to navigate life not through fear or imitation, but through alignment. Alignment with what, you might ask? With your values, with your desires, with your boundaries, with your truth. Because when you live in alignment, everything starts to shift. Your decisions become clearer, your energy becomes cleaner, your presence becomes magnetic, and you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You simply become. You show up as you are. And that is enough. Let's talk about something most people avoid. Boundaries. Setting boundaries isn't about building walls, it's about creating doors. Doors that only open to what nourishes you. Doors that close gently but firmly on what drains you. When you focus on yourself, you start recognizing where your energy leaks. Maybe it's in conversations that always leave you feeling small. Maybe it's in commitments that no longer align. Maybe it's in social media spirals that chip away at your self-worth. You don't need to fix the world. You don't need to fix other people. You just need to stay rooted in your center and guard it like it matters, because it does. This kind of self-respect is not loud. It doesn't need to convince anyone. It just is. And when people see it, they feel it. They either rise to meet it or fall away. And either way, you remain grounded. Focusing on yourself also means investing. Investing in rest, in learning, in joy, in solitude. Solitude especially becomes sacred, because it's in silence that your soul speaks the loudest. It's in stillness that you access the parts of yourself that were drowned out by the noise of others. And in those moments, you don't feel lonely. You feel full, full of presence, full of clarity, full of something the world can't give you, because it comes from within. This is where creativity flows. This is where peace lives. This is where decisions are born from intuition, not obligation. And slowly, without even realizing it, you stop asking for directions. You stop waiting for signs, because you become the sign. You become your own compass. And here's the paradox. The more you focus on yourself, the more love you have to give. Not out of depletion, but out of overflow. You become the kind of person who can hold space without losing yourself. The kind of person who listens without absorbing pain. The kind of person who inspires others to do the same, not by preaching, but by embodying. And that's where the real impact happens. Not in fixing others, but in becoming so grounded in your own healing, your own joy, your own peace, that it ripples outward. Let's be clear, focusing on yourself doesn't mean isolating. It means choosing consciously. It means learning how to differentiate between connections that grow you and those that keep you stuck. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to shift. You are allowed to say, "This no longer serves me," and walk away. And yes, that can be painful. But the pain of growth is always more nourishing than the comfort of stagnation. Because when you betray yourself to keep the peace, you lose twice. You lose your truth, and the connection wasn't real anyway. So ask yourself often, am I shrinking or expanding in this space? Am I abandoning myself or honoring myself? Am I being who I am or who I think they want me to be? These questions are your compass. They keep you aligned. They bring you back. And when you come back to yourself over and over, you build resilience. Resilience isn't about always being strong. It's about being soft with yourself on the hard days. It's about letting yourself break when you need to, and knowing you can rebuild stronger, truer, freer. Focusing on yourself teaches you that you are not a project to be fixed. You are a process to be loved. And in that process, you'll have moments of doubt, You'll question whether it's worth it. You'll feel the pull of your old self trying to drag you back into familiar patterns. But don't quit. Not now. You're closer than you think. Every time you choose yourself, you rewrite your story. You heal generations. You shift timelines. You become the example that says it's safe to be whole. Because wholeness doesn't mean perfection. It means being honest. It means being seen, fully without masks. It means holding space for all of you, the light, the shadow, the in-between. And when you give yourself that space, you stop looking for it outside. You stop chasing what you already carry. You start resting in your own enoughness, and in that rest there's power, a quiet power, a grounded power, the kind that doesn't need to be loud to be felt. That's what happens when you focus on yourself. You remember, you return, you rise. And the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more people who have come home to themselves. You can be that. You are that. Right now. Right here. You don't need to do more. Just be, fully, honestly, unapologetically, and the rest will follow. When you shift your attention inward, you begin to see something extraordinary. Everything you were seeking outside, approval, love, clarity, peace, it was always inside you, quietly waiting to be noticed. And now, you notice. You see the way you've been carrying others' expectations like heavy coats, never stopping to ask if you even liked how they fit. You feel the tension in your body begin to melt as you release the need to constantly perform. You hear your own voice again, gentle, wise, unfiltered, and for the first time in a long time, maybe ever, you begin to trust it. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean rejecting the world. It means showing up to it more whole, more present, more alive. It means learning to love from fullness, not lack, to give without resentment, to help without hurting yourself in the process. You learn to take breaks, not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know that your energy is sacred. You begin to take yourself seriously, not with arrogance, but with reverence. You protect your peace like a garden. You water what grows you. You pull the weeds of guilt, shame, and comparison, and you keep showing up, even on the hard days, even when it would be easier to fall back into old habits, because you've tasted freedom, and you want more. This is how real change begins, not with a dramatic overhaul, but with small, brave choices repeated consistently over time. A deep breath instead of a reaction, a pause before saying yes out of fear, a decision to rest, even when the world tells you to hustle harder. Every time you choose yourself, you make it easier for others to do the same. You become a mirror, not of perfection, but of possibility. You show people that it's okay to not be okay and still move forward. That it's okay to set boundaries and still be kind. That it's okay to be different and still belong. You model a new way of being, one rooted in presence, in purpose, in quiet confidence. And slowly things around you shift. The noise dims, the pressure softens, the relationships that matter deepen, not because you forced anything, but because you aligned. You aligned with your truth and the world responded. There will still be challenges. There will still be moments where you forget. But now you have tools. You have awareness. You have a foundation built not on what others think of you, but on who you know yourself to be. And that can never be taken away. So if no one's told you today, you're doing the work. You're healing. You're growing. You're choosing something better for yourself, and that matters. Keep going. Not for applause, not for approval, but because you deserve a life that feels good on the inside, not just one that looks good on the outside. A life where your peace is not negotiable, where your joy isn't dependent on others, where your love for yourself is steady, deep, and real. That's the life you're building now. It starts with focus, and it continues with courage. So stay with yourself, stay committed, stay kind, because everything you're looking for is already within you. And the more you focus inward, the more the outer world aligns to meet you there. This is your journey, this is your homecoming, and it's only just beginning. The next part, it's coming soon. So if this resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your insight might be someone else's breakthrough. And don't forget to subscribe so you'll be the first to know when the next chapter drops. There's more to come, so much more, and you won't want to miss it.